It looks like we're getting ready to start streaming on YouTube. It says we're on there, so good. Hey, I'm Jennifer Priest, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some out-of-the-box ways to be using Pinterest to get traffic. Now, you might have been experiencing some weird stuff with Google. Oh, this is interesting. It's playing me in the background. We don't want that. We're going to pause that. So I haven't done Zoom on YouTube for a minute. So this is really, really fun. All right, so I'm Jennifer Priest, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some out-of-the-box ways to be getting traffic from Pinterest, things you might not have heard before, things you may have heard you're not supposed to do, and they're totally okay to do, and some other really different and interesting ways to get traffic. So in order for us to survive in this, I'm going to call it like a post-Google world where, like, I don't know about you, but I lost all my Google traffic. In order for us to survive, we've got to get more creative. We've got to start thinking, how can we use the resources that we already have in unique and new ways? And where can we get more traffic? So this is really, really for you if you are in any of the niches that, or any of the verticals that do really, really well on Pinterest. So I have a video and I'll link it down in the description, and I'll probably link it here on the screen with a card or something like that, where I show you how to figure out, should your business even be on Pinterest, right? To find out, is your niche there, etc. Now, if you're already on Pinterest, you're already getting traffic, you're going to love these ideas. And if you're not already on Pinterest getting traffic, then you definitely want to make sure that your audience is on Pinterest, that there's content from your competitors on Pinterest, and that it's a place where you should be. So, and if you have any questions about your niche, absolutely drop me that in the comments and I'll be happy to go check it out for you and give you some feedback on what my thoughts are. So why do we need to be thinking outside of the box with Pinterest? So first, Google is a total roller coaster right now. Things have absolutely changed. People's businesses overnight are losing revenue. If you're a blogger making money with ads, affiliate, sponsors, you may have seen that impact, those changes that are happening on Google for the last 7 months or so. You may have seen those impact your revenue, right? I've seen it impact my revenue as well. Now, the thing is that what we got to think about, especially with Pinterest, is that the niche is there, right? The people are there. If people are there looking for what it is that you people are there looking for what it is that you offer, right? The solution you offer to their problem. So people are still searching, even though Google's like clowning, people are still searching for ideas, and they're experiencing the flip side of what you're experiencing as a blogger and content creator and publisher, right? You're experiencing, oh, I'm not getting any traffic. What they're experiencing is they're going to Google and they're having a terrible experience. So they're looking to other platforms to go find the information that they need to get the ideas, the inspiration, the solutions to their problems, right? They're going to go to other places too, just like you are looking for other traffic sources. So we got to keep that in mind, right? Our audience is hungry for what we have for them, and they're striking out on Google just like we are. So they're going to go to Pinterest, especially if they're DIY, food, wedding, travel, home decor, home projects, crafts, craft rooms, right? Any of that, fashion, nail art, makeup, like so many different verticals are on Pinterest. And if your niche is not in one of those areas, that's not your industry, my list is not all inclusive. Okay, so there's lots and lots and lots of opportunity on Pinterest. So remember, people are still looking for ideas even if Google is broken. So we want to make sure that we're diversifying our traffic. So I'm going to share with you some ideas around Pinterest, and I want to make sure that you are looking actively at ways to diversify your traffic sources. Don't move from all your eggs in the Google basket to putting all your eggs in the Pinterest basket. Now, Pinterest has been absolutely dependable for me for years, and we never know what these platforms are going to do, right? We just never know what they're going to do. They do weird stuff. So we want to make sure that you're diversifying your traffic. So one of the number one things that you can do for that is make sure that you're getting people on your list when they come to your site, right? That way you can email them again, send them more content, stay in contact with them, because that's something else that you really need to make sure you're doing. So another reason why it's really important for us to think about out of the box ways to use Pinterest is because all these people are flooding over from Google who are like Google refugees and they're coming over to Pinterest going, hey, I'm going to get traffic. And they're doing all the same stuff. They're doing all the basic stuff that we've all done for years, right? They're doing the basic stuff. So that's like all the things you can find for YouTube videos for, maybe they took a little course and they got some of the basics. Okay, I'm going to make some images. I'm going to pin them. I'm going to pin them a bunch of times, right? Doing whatever weird thing they're doing. So the platform is going to get flooded with a bunch of content. We've seen this happen before, right? We saw it with spammers stealing images a few years ago. We've seen it with AI lately. Now we're going to have all these other people coming in, and that's totally fine. And this is why you need to do things different. If you've been on Pinterest for a while, you've got to change up your strategy. I'm experiencing the same thing. I'm looking at some numbers are going down that I didn't expect to. Outbound clicks are up, which is great. But it's showing me that there's a lot more competition there. So we've got to up our game. So that's why I'm giving you this video for free. Some of this is what I teach in the advanced level of my online program, Smart Pin Pro, where I teach you how to create a Pinterest traffic strategy from scratch. And we start with how do you understand Pinterest so that you take the course, you learn it, you never need to take another course on Pinterest again, because now you have that understanding. I'm going to give you a methodology that you can use to create a strategy and run your strategy through that methodology, through that framework over and over and over. And as you keep refining it and, Pinterest makes some changes, that's rad. And you just run it through the system and it works. I have people who this has worked for years and years and years. It's worked for me for years. And I have other clients who've come through. Like I was just talking to another blogger, a food blogger, and she says she took Smart Pin Pro a couple of years ago. I want to say it was like 2020, 2021, and she's still having gains in her traffic. So it absolutely does work. But we want to make sure that we're aware that other people are coming in and flooding the platform. The other thing you got to remember is that pins are evergreen. So these things that I'm going to share with you to do, these out of the box ideas, they're going to help your evergreen pins stay ever more evergreen, right? And what that means is that pins that you put on Pinterest, they live forever. They can work for you forever. They can be sleepers, and years later, they'll wake up and get you a bunch of traffic. And that happened to me during COVID. I've had that happen a couple different times with these like really old pins all of a sudden come out of the woodwork and they're working for me. So that's a huge difference compared to other social media platforms like Instagram, right? Your post lasts like a couple hours. And if it didn't take off, it's a dud, right? And if it takes off, it probably lasts like a day or two, maybe a week. So with Pinterest, your pin just keeps on working for you. It's like a rock rolling down a hill. It gains momentum. The more people interact with it and have positive interactions, the more Pinterest shows that pin to more people. So it's very, very different in that way from other social media platforms. So here's what you got to do. I've got 3 ideas for you. All right. The first one is to build a complementary network of other people whose products, content, ideas complement what you do. Now, this is something, the complementary network is something that I share inside phase 3 of the Smart Pin Pro program, where I teach Pinterest traffic strategy. And I go into detail about how to set this up. Essentially, this is what people are trying to do when they were doing, I think Tillman is calling them communities now. They used to call it tribes, where a group of people get together and they pin each other's stuff. So this is being more intentional than that, because you've also seen Facebook groups or Facebook threads where they're like, drop a pin and everybody pin it. I'm not talking about that, because what happens is you get people pinning your stuff where it's not relevant to their audience. They're pinning it to boards that aren't relevant. It's not helping your pins. What a real complementary network is when you have a group of people who have similar content and they share an audience or they share overlapping audiences, and you pin each other's non-competitive content so that you all rise together, right? A rising tide raises all ships. So an example of that I'll give you a blogger example and I'll give you an e-commerce example. With bloggers, they have a lot more latitude. So an e-commerce example would be, we had somebody who came through the program who did heirloom silver jewelry for babies and children, right? Very specific. Now, because her audience was people who had, disposable income. It was important to them to have heirlooms. It was important to them to invest in those things. And they probably skewed a little bit on the older side, right? Maybe grandmothers, maybe their, great aunt, godmother, that kind of thing. And because it was baby, they could create a complementary network with other people who sold other baby items that would make sense. So maybe somebody that sold bespoke baby quilts, or somebody that sold knitted blankets for babies that are, made out of wool or something. I don't like, things like that, like all natural, higher end, more luxury, keepsake type items that they're going to keep forever. So they could create a complementary network with all of those businesses that serve that same, affluent baby buying audience. And they could pin each other's content to relevant boards because they're not competing with each other. That person who's their audience would want to buy all of those things potentially, right? So they could have a board called Best Baby Gifts, and they could, pin to that. Each one could have their own board called Best Baby Gifts or something like that, and best things, for best baby gifts from grandma, heirloom baby gifts, right? Heirloom baby products, and they could all pin each other's content to those boards. Okay. So I hope that that's making sense. Let me know if that's landing with you guys. Now, the next way is for bloggers, right? If you're a content creator, you can pin other content creators who are your competition as long as you guys like get along. It's different than products, right? Like if you made baby jewelry and somebody else made baby jewelry, you don't both want to pin each other's stuff because people only need so much baby jewelry. But if you're both food bloggers, or there's 3 of you that are craft bloggers, you're all going to make crafts and you're going to put your own flavor on it. And it's going to be different. And you could probably argue the same thing for baby jewelry. And like, there's just so much more latitude when you're a blogger because you're pinning content. So you could say that all of you are, food bloggers, and maybe one of you does Southern food and the other one does, desserts, like old timey desserts. And then the other one just does kind of like some comfort food, some crock pot type stuff. Right. So the 3 of you could get together and pin each other's content to relevant boards. Right. So that would be a complementary network. You guys all agree and you say, hey, I've got, 3 new posts this week. I need you guys to pin those for me to your relevant boards. And then each person in the network would pin your pins to their relevant boards. So they're not going to put it on best recipes ever board because that's not relevant. It doesn't give Pinterest any specific information. So for example, with those 3 types of bloggers I gave you, if the dessert blogger had, homemade peach cobbler recipe, then the Southern food blogger could pin that to homemade, to their Southern recipes, their peach recipes board, their Georgia inspired recipes board, right? They could pin it to those boards that they have that are relevant. And the comfort food blogger could pin it to their boards for like best homemade desserts, quick and easy desserts, best a la mode desserts. Like they might have boards like that. So then they could pin that to the boards that are relevant. They're not going to pin it to my favorite recipes board, right? Because it doesn't give Pinterest any specific information about the pin. So there's no real value in them pinning it to a general board. So this brings in, that's complementary network. This brings in the next way that you can do some out of the box stuff with Pinterest is group boards. Now, group boards have had ups and downs. There's lots of stuff about them. I've got a ton of videos about group boards. If you guys want to learn more about that, you can go dig in my archives because they're all in here. And you can take your complementary network and make a group board for your complementary network. And you can join high quality, high traffic group boards. You just want to make sure that they're highly, highly relevant. One of the group boards that I'm on is all about crafts. And that's all it is just crafts. And so when I pin a craft to that board, it does really well because all the other content on the board gives my pin context, and it helps Pinterest better understand what my pin is about so it can send the right people to that pin. Now, if the board was like all DIY ideas ever, then it's too broad, right? And so these are all just crafts. And I think the description is, it says something about, like home crafts, basically it's anything you could make if you went into like a Joann's or Michael's store. Okay. And so that board does great. And I know because I go in my analytics. So there's a couple of ways that you can vet group boards. And we actually have a training on this inside of Smart Pin Pro. And I'm pretty sure I have like some free stuff on my site somewhere about this. So if you comment, I'll get that for you. I'll go find it for you. Where you can vet group boards to find out what are the best group boards to go on and which ones you should leave. And we actually cover this in the Ultimate Pinterest Account Audit, where I show you how to audit your Pinterest account, clean up your boards, make sure you've got the right boards, leave any group boards that are trash, and make sure you're joining group boards that are going to be high quality and really give your pins that context that Pinterest needs to best understand the pin. Now, the third idea for you is to create multiple accounts for your content pillars. Now, this is something that people do on Facebook. This is something people do on Instagram. I've done this on both Facebook and Instagram. I have an Instagram account that's just about craft rooms called Best Craft Rooms, and it has 111,000 followers as of right now. That thing gets crazy traffic. And, imagine if that was a Pinterest account, it would be amazing. So people love niche things where they see the account and they get in and they know what it's about. Well, guess what? When the human can see it and they know what it's about, it's also really easy for Pinterest to see it and know what it's about. So if you have multiple content pillars that you have created content for, especially you lifestyle bloggers, you can create multiple Pinterest accounts to pin your content. Now you can only claim your site with one Pinterest account. So you can't go claim your site on every single Pinterest account. So if you have your one site, let's say you're a food blogger, and you have crock pot recipes and you have, or slow cooker recipes, and you have air fryer recipes on there, and you also have smoker recipes, like you have a Traeger grill or something like that. Let's say those are your three things. You could have your main account for your blog, right? Like Jennifer's home cooking blog. That's your main account where you claim your website. And then you create accounts for your content pillars. So not just boards on your blog account, you have boards for your content pillars and all the keywords and that kind of thing. But you also create new accounts. So you create an account just for smoker recipes. And there you pin your content and you use other people's content. I have a guide called Are You Down with OPP, which is about how to use other people's pins, OPP. And so if you want that, let me know down in the comments because I'll go grab it for you. And so you can use other people's pins. And because that's not a branded account, you have a lot of latitude there. You have a lot of latitude. And this is great if you're e-commerce. This is great if you're somebody where you've got competition and you can't pin their stuff to your main account. You can use your competition's high-performing pins to make your account perform better. So you can have multiple accounts on Pinterest. Just have other email addresses, right? Gmail, you can make email address in like 3 minutes. So those are my 3 ideas, a quick recap of ways to think outside of the box with Pinterest, build a complementary network, and you guys pin each other's stuff, right? Scratch each other's back, create additional relevance for each other, give Pinterest more context for your pins, go find high quality group boards, join them, pin to them, and then create multiple accounts for your content pillars, just like you would do on Facebook and Instagram. You can do the same thing on Pinterest. So how do you do this? You got to start with researching. Research your niche. What's up at the top? You can sort on Pinterest. You can look for keywords and you can look up certain boards. What are all the boards for this keyword? What are all the accounts for this keyword? You can find people you don't even know and reach out to them and get them to be in your complementary network. You can find those group boards. So the first thing is you've got to go look at your niche. Are people looking for what you offer? Are people on there searching for it? Is your competition there? And then once you start doing that research, you'll start to see the group board, you'll start to see the other accounts, and you'll start to see the opportunities there. So if you want, I have a cheat sheet for this year. I update it every year for like checklist. Here's what you got to do on Pinterest. This is if you're a Google refugee and you want to come over to Pinterest, come on over. Here's a checklist for you. And if you're already on Pinterest and you're like, well, I don't know if there's probably things I'm missing, or I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. I'm checking all the boxes. This is literally a checklist, a cheat sheet where you can check all the boxes to make sure you're doing all the right things. So take my out of the box ideas, blend it with what I've got on the cheat sheet. I'm happy to provide that for you. So down below, leave me a comment and just say cheat sheet, and I'll make sure that I drop you the link for that. All right. Thank you so much for watching. And